Steve Gadsby here, and it's time for another edition of Learn More About Heating and Cooling Systems. So today we're going to talk about air conditioning units and the different types of air conditioning units, their efficiency, their noise levels, their various costs, and a bit more about us with FurnaceUSA. So here's some different types of air conditioning units. So the one that people often think of when they think about air conditioning units is what I will call the window shaker air conditioning unit. So it's a unit that sits basically in your window. So you open your window, you put this little box, it's about this big, usually buy them at Costco, and you stick them in the window, you close the window a little bit, you put some sort of screen or piece of plywood or something, and you turn the thing on, you run it for about 24 hours a day in the summertime, and it goes and it makes a bunch of noise, and it slowly sort of cools your house down. Well, it doesn't cool your house down. It cools down whatever bedroom it's physically connected to. So what I found, in my opinion, whatever BTU rating they're giving you is not accurate, because it shouldn't need to run for as long as it does to cool as small of a space as it does. So I can only assume that the manufacturers could be, some of them, overstating what they put on their boxes, because I don't see how long it can take that long. They're also noisy. I don't like them. My opinion is I'm not a big fan of those window shakers. They're also create a bit of a security hazard. So if somebody wants to break into your house, they look around for a window shaker. They know that the window is basically open, so you can take the window shaker out, you can kick out the little thing that's holding the window shaker in. But in a pinch, let's say you absolutely have to get some air conditioning. They're relatively inexpensive. You can probably get them, for a few $100. They don't cost that much, so they're good in a buy. So another type of air conditioning system are called ductless mini split. So what a ductless mini split air conditioning unit, what that's all about is there's a box that sits outside. It's like a little horizontal air conditioning unit. It sits in the ground. There's pipes that run to that, and then there's a box that sits up in your wall. And those two things are interconnected. So the box that sits down on the ground, it runs up through pipes. It's interconnected with the box that's sitting in the wall. And what happens is the air conditioning unit starts outside, the fan starts inside, and it starts to suck the heat out of the room. So those are actually good, but you only want to use them in certain applications. So most people will use the ductless air conditioning unit type if they don't already have a duct system. So if you have a whole house ventilation and ducting system inside your house, just use your furnace, add a normal air conditioner, and we'll be coming out to that pretty soon, into your house. You don't want to get a ductless unit because they're expensive. You can spend as much trying to cool one room as you can trying to cool an entire house. So that's one of the problems. They're also, they can leak sometimes. So we installed hundreds of them, and we found that sometimes, some manufacturers, not all of them, but sometimes they'll start leaking, they'll start dripping. I'm not a big fan of them, again, unless you have to, unless it's your only choice. On the upside, they're super quiet, right? They're not very noisy, which is a good thing. They're relatively small. People sometimes don't like this unit sitting on their wall, so that's a bit of a downside. So the next one, and the one that we do probably 90% of the time, is just a whole home air conditioner, an air source air conditioner. They work fantastic. It's an air conditioning unit that sits outside your house. It's like a cube. You've seen them all around at people's properties. They most of the time go in detached houses, but they can't go into businesses. They can go onto townhouses and attached properties sometimes, but most of the time they'll go onto a detached house. The unit sits outside. There's pipes that connects to the inside. So your furnace itself, your forced air furnace itself, is pushing through the air conditioning unit. There's a evaporator coil that's sitting on top, and it's pushing through that, and then it's distributing that cooling throughout the place. And that's how it creates the cooling. Those are the most common ones. The nice thing about it is, if you already have a duct system, so a distribution system throughout your whole house, that's all you need. So that's going to do everything, right? So those are, in my opinion, the best, because they're the most cost effective for what you're trying to do. We like it the best. But Other types of air conditioning units that you can get is a PTAC unit. You see them at hotels. They cut open a big, long, say like a 4-foot by 2-foot opening in the bottom of the wall. They push this big air conditioning unit into it, and then that cools your place. You see them at hotels. They're almost exclusively for hotels, but you, in theory, could use them for a house. You have air conditioners that are part of heat pumps, where basically it's a heat pump that heats and cools your home, but half of the system is actually an air conditioner. You generally will only get a heat pump if you really want an air conditioner and your utility costs are relatively low for electricity in the area, and that will make it efficient to also heat your house with your air conditioner in the summertime, but they cost more than a standard air conditioner. So another one that you'll see again at Costco, they're just the portable ones. So they're the ones that stand up. They sit in your usually say a bedroom. They've got a couple of big hoses sticking out the window. Those units have all the same problems. Those air conditioning units have all the same problems as what a window shaker does. So you have to leave your window open a little bit. It creates a security risk. You have to stick these hoses flying through the air. They a lot of times have this little pan that you need to take out and drain in the sink. It can be a nuisance sometimes because you're having to deal with them and take them apart and dump water and all this kind of stuff. So I would say the best course of action, if you can avoid it, is not to get one of those. But again, they're inexpensive. So a decent one may be $600 or $700, but they're not fantastic. So efficiency. So that's the other part of air conditioning units that you need to consider. The efficiency of a window shaker air conditioning unit, they range, but a lot of them that are sold are lower efficiency just because they're a lesser expensive model. You can get better ones. For a ductless air conditioning unit, the efficiencies I find are generally a lot of times a little bit higher just because they can make them more efficient somehow. The whole house air conditioner, again, you can install the whole range, but it goes from, say, a low of 13 SEER up to a high of 25 SEER and stuff like that. All that really means is it's like a gas. It's comparable to like miles per gallon. So higher is better for SEER efficiency, but it's always kind of proportional. So if you live in a super hot climate where you're going to be using your air conditioner a lot, you want something with a higher SEER rating because it's going to save you money. If you live in a cooler climate, I don't think, in my opinion, you're going to get your money back out of a higher SEER product. Yeah, the other consideration for air conditioning units is the air conditioning unit noise. If you have neighbors that are very, very close, you're going to want to buy something that's quieter, and that comes down to decibels. So you're going to want to buy something with a lower decibel range. The indoor ones like portables and that kind of stuff, all the noise is kept inside, so that's not really an issue for your neighbors. It's a problem for you when it's 3 in the morning and you have this air conditioner making noise in your bedroom. But yeah, the thing is, if you get something that's quieter, it's also going to cost you more money. So there's kind of a cost consideration. But we do all the types of air conditioners. We don't really do much of the ones that you can buy at Costco, but we do the whole house permanent type air conditioners. If you want a quote, you can schedule your own quote in. There's a link on this page. You can schedule your own quote in, or just give us a call at the number on the page. Or you can send us an email or send a chat box or whatever else. But we look forward to chatting with you here at FurnaceUSA. Give us a call and we'll give you more information about air conditioning